Welcome to today's Construction Manager and BIM Plus webinar in association with Procore Technologies, Optimize to Modernize, Building for Growth and Managing Risk with Platform Technology. I'm pleased to welcome today's speakers, Steve Coppin, Technical Director with Arcadis, Josh Schumann, Business and Development Manager with Kenham Building, Tom Noctor, Strategic Product Consultant with Procore, and I'm your chair today, Will Mann. I'm editor of Construction Manager magazine. On to today's webinar programme. We will be addressing the challenge of working with manual processes in today's industry, particularly from a risk and safety perspective, insights on how technology can make businesses more competitive, how technology can drive employee productivity, engagement and retention, and how businesses can benefit from having more visibility of data both in the office and on site. And there will be a Q&A after our three presentations. A little bit of housekeeping. You can use the Q&A function to ask questions during presentations. Panelists will try to answer questions using the Q&A function once they've finished presenting. Any unanswered questions will be addressed in the Q&A session after the three presentations have concluded. Okay, I'm now going to welcome our first speaker, which is Steve Coppin. Steve, I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and invite you to share yours. If you can unmute yourself and start sharing your screen.
Good afternoon. Digital engineering to enhance health and safety in design. So welcome. The first, basically, we're going to go through a number of slides explaining the collaboration from various organisations such as Freeform, Sir Robert McAlpines and various other contractors. We will come through these slides. So part of BIM 4 working group, which is organised and chaired by the HSE, the actual vision there is foresight and not just hindsight. Digitalisation and modelling helps, as we all know, about planning, managing, monitoring and coordinating design. Visualization, whether it's 3D or 4D models, visible to the eye and help identifying clashes, issues and risks. Digital design can help with capturing and communicating health and safety risks, thereby helping to prevent potential injuries and ill health. Here's a typical slide using the gateways to plan work streams from 0, 1 to 7, which have changed, as you all know, REBA plan has changed this year, and another matrix using the Highway England for infrastructure and roads. And where we can see the cost benefits or the change, should I say, through the project, the later your design change, then there's more possibility of increased costs. So it's all about trying to address health and safety, eliminate any issues and risks early on in the design. The later we look at this and do anything about it, obviously has an impact regarding program and cost. So coming about issues during too bit late before the construction phase has a detrimental effect accordingly. So it's important to flag up issues, risks early, and digital is a way forward, as we all know. So this is another example where BIM workflow and CAD, the old CAD, those are still using that methodology in their office. And this thanks courtesy to University of Manchester on this, their diagram. But here, as you can see on the right-hand side, is where construction work, where the majority of the cases design and build contractor will embrace this. However, without an employer's information required, in other words, it's specified in the contract. So we're trying to educate clients more and more, particularly on developments, about the importance of writing into the contract the employer's information requirements about the project information, the asset information, as well as the operation information requirements. And they need to be brought on early from the design, from the very beginning, all the way through a collaborative process than we are having on majority of sites. There's pockets of excellence out there actually making a massive difference. And what we call this, as you've all heard from the Hackett's report, is about the golden thread, the single source of truth. And it's capturing that information from the beginning, early as possible, through inception all the way to practical completion for the end user and the operation of that asset. And there we have a good diagram regarding showing the complexities of building information and how it should be written into the contract for the employer's information requirements, but also due to the ISO standards of being released, the exchange information required. And you can see it is complex, and it's about drawing that together, hence writing not just the actual specifics in the contract, but keeping it in plain English for uneducated clients to understand the value, why we need a consistent approach from the beginning. And this is a BIM working group that we're working on. And thanks to all those members on there contributing to this guidance note for clients writing the employer's information requirements. And this is now being released. This is free of charge. There's no hang up with this. And it's thanks to the collaboration of all those members up, as you can see. So there is guidance out there to help write the employer's information, to set the stalls from the very beginning of the project, not leave it just straight to the contractor alone. We have design for manufacturing off-site. These are an excellent case study from the Ministry of Justice, where they actually looked at various assembling off-site robotics using digital and related to obviously fire safety, which is going to become a critical issue with residential high-rise, as we all know. And here we see where the benefits of mechanical, electrical, plant, heating, ventilation rises over 3 kilometres in total length. That there was a savings using digital and design for manufacturing assembly of 54,000 working hours, equating to over 106,000 books to be read to children, just to equate to that. And here's another example where identifying issues and significant residual risks are flagged up within the model and actually relate to a register, tracker, log, schedule, which is the way forward to get it all consistent and linking in with a common data environment. In other words, basically your portal of all the information gathering. Here's another example where communication is essential, and it's using the process we've known for years and adapt to really a practical stance to principles of prevention, which is ERIC, which is nothing to do with Eric Clapton's kind guitar solos, but it's to do with eliminate, reduce, inform, and control. And this is where the illustrations are shown to all the actual key members of the actual project team. And we're talking about key members of the contractor team as well. And they actually look at how their machinery and equipment is going to come in logistically wise. Is it going to work practically? So in other words, we're doing what we call digital rehearsals beforehand. And here's another step forward where they go, where we're going to place the beat, the steel, the structure, and so forth in relation to that. And then the guys chipping in and saying, will that work? And it's the situation, it didn't work. And it saved at least 6 weeks in the program, which doesn't sound a lot, but it would reduced amount of costs that would have been instrumental to the project. Here we're talking about drones carrying pizza, but actually going around and obviously preventing working at heights and going into confined spaces and such like, to, as we mentioned, having workshops using digital, as we are doing now, and visualization, reality, and actually rehearsing the process with logistically, how before we actually using a library of equipment that's on a database that's actually precise to the actual location. And here's another one regarding digital rehearsal versus reality. Here on the left-hand courtesy of National Grid with their supply chain Murphys and various other companies, they've actually rehearsed this to eventually, yes, you see on the right-hand side, this is how they actually did it. You see how it's changed slightly because they went through that. Hang on, it's not going to work that way. And it wasn't even perfect. They admitted even in reality, it didn't work so perfectly, but it did prevent accidents and incidents. So if it hadn't been for the digital in the first place, there may have been an incident of some sort. So it just shows you the value of it. So beneficial is actually taking these pictures to the workforce and going through them as part of their RAMs and briefings and going through that rather than just going through a lot of words. So it actually has a visual impact for the guys to understand what they actually need to be doing and what they're looking at and how they are part of the team. And just to summarize, it's about foresight, not just hindsight, as we saw earlier on the first slide. Procurement is the Achilles heel, and it needs to be utilized to have set in one platform and common data environment. Combining design for manufacturing assembly together with building information model. Embracing the right digital tools to identify and make a difference early. Having workshops, interaction with this collaboration in reality, using 3 or 4D to identify any risks to provide solutions. Capturing the right health and safety risk information to the right people at the right time, using digital for the building or structural asset, including life cycle. Thank you for your attention, everyone.
Thank you very much for that, Steve. Excellent presentation. I'm now going to ask you to stop sharing, and I'm going to welcome our next presenter. That is Josh Schumann from Kenham. Josh, if you could start sharing your screen, and away you go.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I work for Kenham Building, and I'm going to do a little bit about a story of our involvement in construction and technology. Now, non-construction construction is a term that we've been using at Kenham, and it's basically anything which isn't actually building. All those little things that we in the construction industry need to manage and take care of, which don't involve physically building, be this planning, tendering, requesting and receiving information, the list sort of goes on. However, they all tend to fit into 3 categories: information needs, safety, and time. And until we get robots which can build houses for us, these are the elements that technology can have a huge impact in with the construction workflow. Now, before I go on, let me take you back. When I joined Kenham nearly 6 years ago, we were a small construction company working under the wing of a high-end London developer. And to put a number to the word small, I was the 4th employee, with the 3rd joining a month before me. Kenham were involved with 2 to 3 projects a year. All were of significant value, but with that low quantity, it was always easy to manage with a couple of people. As time went on, Kenham grew as a company and began taking on more third-party work. And by 2017, we were dealing with 3 times the amount of projects and an increase in staff. This culminated in us starting work on a small housing development of 13 new builds. It was at this time I really started to push for a project management solution. I like tech and software, and having seen how they've benefited other industries, I was always amazed how construction seemed to be quite standoffish to the idea. Essentially, the software tools of the trade in construction were Excel, and that was sort of it. Microsoft Project got a shout out every now and then, and you had Outlook to deal with your emails. But communicating solely via emails and calls relied on other people's organizational skills and ability to remember and record. And I'm sure we've all been there where we've read an email, thought, I'll deal with that tomorrow. Tomorrow comes along with a pile of new emails, and you've completely forgotten about the one you were meant to deal with last night. Now we looked at a few options. At one stage, we had a beautiful folder structure, which became the template to start a project. We migrated this across to shared drive, but the issue we found here is the sheer amount of data we were storing was hampering people's PCs and slowing it all down. The main problem here is that the system isn't intuitive. These large folder structures become passive storage dumps. And additionally, you have to deal and hope that everyone stores everything that's received. We tried this for a bit, but truthfully, there's nothing to get excited about. It serves a purpose, but it's labor intensive to maintain and set up, and it doesn't really make people's lives easier. Moving on from the folder structure, someone had the idea of hiring a document manager. Now, I'm sure someone has sold you the dream. Someone to organize all your documents and the clutter. And it works to an extent. It made people's lives easier. But they always need to be copied into each email, and you're putting a lot of responsibility onto a single person. My biggest issue here is they were never familiar with the project. By not knowing what they are storing, it felt like a blind librarian. They knew how to store information, but often the information was stored in the wrong place or the wrong way, or sometimes the information shouldn't have actually been stored as it wasn't correct in the first place. And you can't expect a document controller to know everything about a job. So I wanted a simpler option, and I knew software was going to be the answer. Now, at the time of looking for softwares, there weren't too many out there, and certainly none from the UK. I engaged with a few options and started numerous trials, and there was one that stood out, not so much for what it was offering then, but how it saw the future. This company was not about giving a static bit of software. They instead wanted to form a relationship with construction. Their aim was to continually develop their software in the hope that eventually it became so useful that even the anti-tech construction industry could see the benefits. That company is Procore, and that nicely segues me back to the start. 3 aspects of non-construction construction where software and Procore can support you. Now, receiving and reviewing information is one of the most important non-construction processes. Without the information, you just can't build anything. When I first became involved in the construction industry, drawings were almost always sent via email. Not only are you always hoping that the email is seen and acknowledged, you're also expecting the recipient to update their records. Additionally, I cannot tell you the amount of times I've annoyed architects by asking them for the latest set of drawings, which normally gets the response of, I sent this to you last week. As things progressed at Kenham, we moved this process to Dropbox and SharePoint, but as mentioned earlier, these are little more than storage dumps. This is where Procore came in, a storage system that not only allows you to store countless drawings and revisions, but also gives you the ability to search the text on the drawings without even opening them. And yet there's more. Gone are the days of trying to compare 2 very similar revisions. Now you can just overlay them, and Procore will highlight the changes, with blue and red showing different versions of the same drawing. And I'm really scratching the surface here with what I'm describing. The functionality of the drawing tool deserves its own webinar. And even whilst preparing this presentation, I found new updates which I hadn't spotted before. And realistically, it's quite a nice way to display the information. It really does look quite good. Now, to minimize the risk, we took this a little bit further. All of our projects are set up to grant the architect and design team full admin permission on the drawing tool. At the start of the project, we teach them the ropes and get them to realize that if they keep this centralized hub up to date, everyone will always know where to look for the latest drawings. No more emails asking for drawings or queries. If there is a new revision, we make it clear. Keep Procore up to date and your life as a drawing secretary can finally end. Now, not everything can be saved to a tool, and one should never feel like you are shoehorning something into that tool. Now, this is where Procore's document function comes in. Sure, it works a little bit more like Dropbox, but it's a bit more intuitive. For one, you can save things straight from an email, but another great function is save revisions. Every time you edit a document, it creates a new file. No more save as or putting your initials after a document. It's just very easy. Every revision advises who edited the last and when. It's not world breaking and others have been there before, but it helps keep harmony in the software. It now even integrates with your Office 365 account to allow you to edit even without having to download a copy first. Now, safety is of huge importance in construction. And with an almost endless list of possible risk scenarios, it's important to make sure you have every angle covered. Given what's been happening in the world for the past couple of months, the safety of our operatives on site and any visitors on site has increased dramatically. From toolbox talks to risk assessments, method statements, site inspections, and visitor logs, the list is nearly endless. And I'll use the word centralized hub when discussing how Procore can help, because that's what it becomes. It's a place for everyone to collaborate and review the required information. Procore has a few tools up its sleeve to help with this whole process, from simple things like allowing fillable PDF forms to whole tools dedicated to inspections, observations, and incidents. The inspection tool really came out shining very early on and allowed us to give all sites a clear protocol checklist. When COVID struck, it allowed us to make sure all our closed sites were complying with both health and safety requirements and our own insurance requirements. We had previously been using this tool for all manner of inspections, from simple equipment checklists to whole site inspections, and it's become hugely important, and most importantly, improve the productivity of the guys who would otherwise have to be filling out this form with pen and paper, scan it, save it, send it, upload it. You know the story. Now, it's all about time, and because time is money, and almost every building site I know is constantly chasing time. But you can't change time. What you can change is productivity. Yes, everyone would like more time on sites, but perhaps a tool that just made things more efficient on site would be a good substitute. And until we unlock time travel, that is as close as we're going to get to any free time. Moving our on-site activities to an app has allowed our site managers to claw back at least an hour a day from the paperwork grind. Sometimes it's even the simple things like knowing everyone is always working from the same drawing revision and being able to show these easily on a mobile device. A more active example would be the site diary. With Procore, this can easily be updated via the mobile app, wherever and whenever. Pictures, attachments can all be included, and it makes it a lot easier to look back at past days, and anyone with access to the tool can review past progress. The GIF that's flashing around at the moment is an example of a productivity-based report which is produced weekly and comes just from regular inputted site diary information. This allows the product and commercial team to easily see every week whether we have enough people or not enough people on site, and they can monitor how efficient that site is actually progressing purely from that data. Now, perhaps one of the finest productivity tools Procore has to offer is sort of an information tool, and that's the RFI tool, Request for Information. Some of the other tools that Procore has are just much better versions of things already available, but the RFI tool was one that really surprised us at Kenham as to how much and how useful it really became. Previously, if you needed information, you would send an email and another email, followed by a more slightly passive-aggressive email, and perhaps eventually you'd get a response. Now, this approach sort of works, but what it doesn't do is add a level of accountability. By using the RFI tool and the submittal tool combined, it allows us to make everyone accountable for any potential delay caused. Not just that, but it also allows us to confirm that they've read and received the request. What's more is that RFI doesn't get lost like an email. Every Monday morning, any outstanding RFIs are pinged out to the people who need to know. And it's this level of transparency that can really help protect. And it makes a nice change from the builder getting the blame for all of the delays. Now, one of the benefits of having Procore is you also can track your RFIs by status. So you can create graphs like this, which are using data which is already in Procore and showing who's has outstanding RFIs and how long they've been outstanding for. So it really helps to show you which subcontractors or which clients are creating or delaying your process. Now, since this webinar is essentially meant to be a seminar, I may as well share some knowledge before I move on. I'd like to make people aware of a quality of life tool that Procore has. It's a little known Outlook add-on, which allows you to save things straight from an email to your Procore project. And I hugely recommend this add-on as a way to streamline any Procore related process. Not only can you save to the documents tool, but you can create change events, observations, instructions straight from an email, and it's really helpful. Procore don't seem to shout about it, so this is its moment of fame. At the time of this webinar, we're still in the coronavirus lockdown and things around us are changing. The construction industry has definitely and will continue to suffer from the impact caused, be this reduced productivity due to social distancing or simply frustration in getting materials at the same pace. Now, I'm not going to say that Procore was our saving grace, but what this time has confirmed is the need for good reporting and great project management visibility. Without the various bits of software we use, our company would definitely have felt the impact more than it has done. To have the confidence that you have complete oversight of a project from a senior management position not only allows you to plan a company-wide cash flow, but also gives you assurance if needed that your team are on top of everything and in control. And isn't that what we all want? To know that everything is under control. There are so many software solutions out there to help us save time and money, and whilst increasing productivity and oversight. Being forced to work remotely has allowed these great bits of software to really shine and prove how useful they can be. Right now is a great opportunity to review the way we work. It's unlikely we'll ever get a situation where the world as we know it has been paused. As the working ecosystem begins to change, many companies are supporting more remote working, allowing employees to spend more time being human rather than just workers. Perhaps now is the time that we in construction finally embrace what the tech industry is offering to help us become better at what we do best, which is building the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Josh. Very good presentation and a few nice sci-fi references. I'm going to welcome our third and final presenter now, Tom Noctor from Procore.
Thank you very much, Will. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Noctor. I'm a strategic product consultant at Procore, and I just want to really follow up with what Josh and Steve have presented today, which has been some great information. First of all, Steve mentioned that construction has begun using digital technology, and Josh showed some of the great functionality that's available within Procore. Some of this functionality you may have already seen in other solutions. The main difference here between Procore and those solutions is that Procore manages all of this information in one solution, and that's the Procore platform. Some key talking points here is, first of all, construction companies face many challenges throughout the construction process. This is obvious, but it becomes more increasingly difficult when these processes are manual or in-point solutions. Additionally, the number of stakeholders multiplies as a variety of subcontractors enter the picture on a construction project, meaning that project drawings and specifications are always changing. And additionally, on these projects, communication isn't always the best thing that happens between subcontractors. Subcontractors and stakeholders have very little interaction between each other. And this is where outdated information can cause project delays, budget overruns, and then also profit drain. And as a result of this, project team members often don't have access to the critical documents in the field, and the office staff can't get the updated information. Team members come quickly confused and clients frustrated in the ability to complete projects in a timely manner. And additionally, with the outdated information being used on site, I'm sure the majority of you here have witnessed this on a construction project. It also results in delays, it results in cost implications, just because the site team aren't working off the latest information. And when we look at these point solutions in relation to how Procore manages them on the Procore platform, information is transferred manually between these point solutions. So this means that the document approvals are managed in a particular software. To get this information out to the field, it's a manual download that needs uploading to the field team. And because of this, you're increasing the risk of the team not having the latest information, as well as the team working off old revisions or the wrong drawings. And everything just becomes confusing for all parties involved. Additionally, then, if we look at BIM solutions, with BIM, there's often just a BIM application that you may or may not have out on site. With Procore, we have a BIM module, it's called the model tool, where this puts the model into everybody's pocket. This means that once you have a Procore account, you have the access to the model, and you can interact with that by creating ongoing construction issues as well as design issues. So some of the main points here of Procore's platform is that it keeps everyone informed in one single location. There's no ambiguity of where this information is being stored. The information is on Procore. And while you look at these point solutions, I'm sure you have all witnessed this, but it's just much easier for everyone involved to have all this information in one place. And I suppose just a bit about Procore. Procore's mission is to connect everyone in construction on a global platform. And this stems right from pre-construction all the way to delivering the project to handover of that project. There's tools for everybody on the project, right from engineer to subcontractors, meaning that everyone can collaborate in the correct manner and have all the latest information at hand. Additionally, with this platform approach, we have an excellent app marketplace. So for instance, if there is a solution that you use for your ERP system or you use to manage takeoffs in pre-construction, there's an app on our app marketplace to do that for you. With our open API, it means that anything is possible. Any software can integrate with Procore once it has that open API. And finally then, one of the most important things is that as we are all on this journey of collecting this information on a digital solution, one of the main benefits that a company can gain is getting deep insights and analytics from all of this information. And as we're only on the start of this journey, and a lot of companies are, the next stage of this capture of information should be that you're making better decisions for your business. And this is where Procore Analytics comes in. Just a little bit about Procore Analytics. You can get deep insights into all of the activities across your project. It means that you can take action potentially before an incident occurs, or visualize trends across all your projects and start to make better decisions then to make sure that you're delivering projects to a high quality and high safety. Additionally, then you're able to drive accountability. So getting these insights into the performance of subcontractors also. So if, for instance, if you have a project where safety is critical, which it always should be, it means that you can go back into your data and visualize who are the safest subcontractors that you use. And this can be collated in multiple different ways. As Josh mentioned, we have an excellent inspection tool, which all that data can then be pushed into Procore Analytics, so you can visualize the actions and the performance of these guys. And also then, if we look at observations. So an observation is an ongoing construction issue, which can be created on Procore, which means that if you capture the issues during construction, you're going to have that reduced snag list at the end of the project. By capturing these and visualizing trends, it's fair to say that you can preempt potentially on certain projects what may happen in the future, and then put in preventative measures so this doesn't happen going forward. And that's just some items on Procore Analytics. And again, we're happy to discuss with anyone if they're interested on learning more. And that's all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Tom. I'm now going to welcome back all of the panelists for the Q&A session. We've had quite a few questions that have come in. First up, Darren White has asked a few questions. First of all, and this is probably for Tom, interoperability, how does Procore deal with this?
Okay, so I'll assume that Darren was talking about the interoperability of models. Procore integrates with Navisworks, which means that you can upload all of any type of model file, and from there it can be pushed into Procore. So at the moment we can take any file that Navisworks can take. IFC obviously is one of those as well. So yeah, we can manage them no problem, and create a visual model that can be interacted with people on site as well as in our web viewer on the web.
Okay, thanks for that, Tom. Darren also asks, does Procore meet PAS 1192.5 security?
That's another great question. So as Procore is a global business, and we are on a journey of rolling out Procore across the EMEA industry and specifically UK and Ireland, there are certain areas where we are developing to meet those requirements. At the moment, we do meet the majority of those. And again, I'm happy to discuss with Darren outside of this conversation on those if he wants to learn more.
Okay. Another question, which again should probably go to you, Tom. Since Procore is a BIM solution, can the software be used on infrastructure projects such as roads?
Absolutely. So our client base is across all different types of construction projects, right from the commercial or the residential, right up to infrastructure. So absolutely, our model tool again you can upload any type of model as well as managing the information associated to that project on the Procore platform.
Okay. Tiernan Gilmartin asks, is Procore Analytics part of the standard Procore setup or an add-on?
Another good question. So out of the box with Procore, you do get Procore reports, and Josh did show some visuals on that, which is the basic reporting that you can use to, create reports and dashboards on overdue items and performance. The next level of that is Procore Analytics, where you get to make better decisions going forward for your business and view those deep insights. It is an additional product, so it doesn't become, let's say, part of the Procore setup. But the way Procore offers products is that there is no real standard Procore setup. We basically run through the process with you and decide what you want as part of your setup. So it really is tailor-made to the requirements of each company. So if you want it to be part of your standard Procore setup, it certainly can. It just all depends on what part of Procore you want to continue with.
Okay, we've had one or two questions on how user-friendly Procore is and what training is required. And perhaps, Josh, you might say a little bit about this, given your experience with the software.
Yes, I mean, Procore is exceptionally user-friendly, and realistically, it has to be, because a lot of the people using the software have no experience in using software before. So everything's laid out in quite a simple fashion and format. What I would say is training is still required, and it's much better off to spend a couple of days or a week at the beginning when the software is rolled out, just to get everyone updated, rather than allowing people to just run into the software and try and work it out on their own. It's quite important with Procore to make sure that you have sort of methods and sort of protocols as to how you want different bits of software or different elements of the tools to run. So it's a good time at the beginning to get your senior management together to work out how each tool should function, and then roll it out and get everyone involved in that decision.
Thanks, Josh. Tom, do you want to say anything about training?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, as Josh pointed out, we don't take the approach as we're just selling you software. We want to see you succeed and make sure that you get the best of the system. Again, Josh touched on that earlier, which is testament to what I've just said. But in relation to training, when you go through the sales cycle with Procore, you are handed over to an implementation manager. And this person is dedicated to help you roll out Procore across your business. And this is in relation to best practices, training, etc. So that is included as part of the Procore package. And then again, once you finish implementation, you have a customer success manager who again is dedicated to make sure you're getting the best out of the system. And if you link that with our excellent online support that we have, which is 24 hours, and I mean, if any of our customers would like to test them to this, is that within 30 seconds, someone is on to you. And if you do have an issue, your point of contact, be it your implementation manager or your customer success manager, is notified that you have reached out with an issue. So we're all talking together and making sure that your questions are being answered.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I just want to go back to Steve Coppin. Steve has answered a couple of questions via the Q&A function, and it might be good to get a bit more detail on those. Steve, can you unmute yourself? One of the questions was about the BIM 4 document and whether it was in line with PAS 1192. Do you want to just say a little bit more about that?
Yeah, the guidance document was developed by a number of clients and consultants, one being obviously Arcadis, who I work for, Arabs was the others. The clients were National Grid, Environmental Agency, Transport for London, and Network Rail. And what we did was, with Gordon Crick from the HSE and Gavin Bull, devised all this. And this is basically a document stipulating what the client should be clearly identifying early as possible, as mentioned on the presentation, but it's in line with PAS 11926, which came out just before then, about a year before, setting the parameters of, not to the detail. We wanted to try and keep it simple rather than too complex, what's written in Series 6. So that's where we are now. We're trying to obviously use examples of clients, particularly developments. I mean, infrastructure projects have been fortunate to have a government initiative of funding. So they've developed it a lot further beyond the curve than I'd say private developers. And so that we're working on that to try and raise their game of the benefits of doing this.
Okay, thanks, Steve. And the question from Philip Baker, where can we get a copy of the guidance notes for clients writing and employer information requirements?
Unfortunately, the HSE's BIM 4 working group do not have a intranet portal at the moment that's available to the public because of the documents that's on it. So what you can do is email myself, my email address, and I'll forward it on to you. We are waiting for a host to host all that documentation, and then also we are doing another guidance document as well, in line with the new ISO guidelines, because there's a begging for not just health and safety risk information that's not detailed, but also fire safety, which will be in line with what's coming around the corner with the high-rise residential buildings.
Yeah, it's sure to be a big issue.
Yeah.
Just returning to a couple of questions specific to Procore, one from Alan Edwards, who asks about licensing for projects involving multiple parties in different countries. Can you address that one, Tom?
Yeah, so just want to make sure I answer the question correctly. The way Procore's licensing work is that it is unlimited user-based license. So I mean, anyone can have access. There's no restriction on licensing in that aspect. If we're talking about projects, again, you have an unlimited amount of projects as well. So based off your construction volume or your annual turnover, that's what Procore is based on. And there is no issues with multiple parties in different countries. I mean, anyone can access the platform.
Okay. Another Procore question. For using Procore, do you need specialist data personnel to key in an entire construction program? Not quite sure I've quite got that question, but do you want to have a crack at it, Tom?
Yeah, I'm gonna touch on it as if it's the construction program.
Yeah.
So basically, again, Procore integrates with the likes of Microsoft Project, Asta, or P6, which can be inputted directly into Procore's program tool. Mm-hmm. And from there, then everyone has access and visibility to the program. So while you don't need specific training or data personnel to view the program, generally you'd see the planner of the project upload the program to Procore, and from there, then it's always the live program that's available.
Okay, that's good. Just another question to Steve, well, the whole panel really. Obviously, the COVID situation has changed things considerably for construction and for health and safety. I just wondered if you'd noticed much more of a focus on safety and risk management since, well, the beginning of March.
And I say yes, there obviously has to be in line with obviously the Construction Leadership Council guidance and Build UK. We've seen, and now we have version 4, that was this, not just a case of social distancing, but from the very beginning is about ensuring the hygiene and health and safety and welfare of people, but more to the point, health and well-being of people who are actually in a different environment than they used to be, is more and more absolutely necessary and paramount to be checking on our people that we're responsible for, so that they're okay. So there's a massive drive on trying to ensure that our peoples that we're responsible for in our organisation, our teams, on our projects, is in the right place, mind-wise, not as well as health-wise on this. So there's a massive drive, I think more so than ever. It's not just a case of filling out risk assessments, actually doing what we should be doing and walking the walk.
Sure. Josh, do you want to address that one as well? What's been the experience from your perspective?
I mean, I guess health and safety on site has always been about the unseen risks. Theoretically, you wear a hard hat so that a brick that falls off that you don't see doesn't smash you on the head. And I guess COVID is an unseen virus. You can't visibly see it, but everyone's seen the repercussions of it. And it's enforced how important sort of PPE has become. And it's also quite nice not having to explain to anyone anymore what PPE is. I think everyone now knows definitely what that stands for.
Yeah.
And Tom, what about you? Have you noticed more interest from Procore customers about the sort of the risk management and safety aspects of Procore software?
Yeah, absolutely. In relation to our quality and safety tools, I think it again becomes that standard for anyone that's looking at a digital solution to manage their projects. And that's specifically again in the UK and Ireland, not so much in the likes of the US, but I think that is testament to how we manage our projects here versus all across the world. There is a heightened focus on quality and safety. When it comes to COVID, there's a lot of guidelines and procedures that need to be put in place. And also you need to be able to prove that you have these in place and that you're adhering to these guidelines. And that's another excellent use case for our tools, is that you can create these observations and make, if someone isn't wearing their PPE, create it as an observation. And if something does happen in relation to COVID, you have that documented. And carrying out inspections on a daily basis, making sure that social distancing is being adhered to, etc. And we do have COVID inspections that we also do release to clients as well to help them build out their templates for capturing these items on a weekly basis as well. So all available within Procore.
Okay. And Tom, a question from Kieran Phelan, who cuts straight to the chase and says, has Procore any plans in allowing companies to use the platform for free on one project, maybe with limited size? He says, as a project manager, this will be a nice option to convince the higher level management of the benefits of Procore.
Yeah, so in relation to that point, what I'd say to Kieran is reach out to us. There's always something that we can do. There is the potential there for trials, etc. Just you would need to reach out and contact us. So yeah, that's that.
Okay.
I mean, I wouldn't mind saying something quickly on that. When it comes to the software, because I was in a similar position, I had to convince at that stage the director of the company that software was sort of the way to go, and I did look at Autodesk, the one offering across from BIM, it's a case of you need to jump into this sort of software properly, you can't just dip your toe into it, because I don't think you fully appreciate the full functionality. There's a lot of sort of behind the scenes setup that needs to be done to make sure that you can fully engage with the software, which I think from my experience may not be experienced with just one project, which is why I think a lot of these companies like you to, you know, come on board and actually get involved with it a bit more.
Just one more note on that as well. I do see some other solutions names being popped up in the chats and that, and what I do say to you is, again, my first point on my presentation was that Procore is a platform, and when I say platform, it means that everything is manageable in one location and one single application. So be it the mobile app, it's just a Procore app you have, and then the tools live within that, meaning that you don't have to flick through between apps. And that's just one of the main comparisons between how other solutions may work. It may be multiple apps. And again, you still have that point solution. Although they may say platform, it's not really, because there's still that ambiguity of where information should go or where that lives.
Okay. One other question that's come in, probably for you, Tom, but Josh, you might want to come in on this as well. How are change instructions dealt with? For example, if a drawing creates changes, there may be a need for an architect's instruction. How is this contractually managed? Tom, did you get that one, or Josh, do you want to take it first?
I'll take it first, since Tom's missing it. Essentially, Procore has a tool for creating that instruction. So if a drawing comes in, you can link that drawing to the instruction, or if an instruction comes in via an email with a drawing attached or anything, you can create a site instruction directly from there. Now that instruction can be as detailed or as simple as it needs to be. The instruction can include a cost change, a time delay change, and all those sort of bits and pieces. And it's integrated into the project, so it means you can always link through, and everyone has full visibility as to who needs to, you know, be accountable for it.
Yeah, apologies, I missed that question, but I am back and I am alive. So yeah, as Josh mentioned, you can create these items on drawings. Additionally, we do have a new feature that's coming out shortly that, in relation to instructions, etc., becomes more formal, where you can manage general communications as well as contractual communications. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that one.
Okay. Tom, another question that might have been covered by the interoperability question earlier, but perhaps worth covering again in case this attendee missed that one. Is Procore easy to plug into other software?
Yeah, I would say easier than most. So with our open API, it means that anyone can integrate with us. Again, we have some excellent resources on our developer portal that you can just sign up for, and guide you through how to build applications and integrations with Procore. So it becomes two ways, is that we might have softwares that want to integrate with Procore, and then vice versa. So it is very easy, and it's well documented, and there's a lot of support out there for you to do so.
Okay, thanks very much. Going back to Steve. Steve, I know you mentioned DFMA in your presentation, and with the delays and slowdown to so many projects, are you noticing more interest in going down the offsite DFMA route with projects? Are clients seeing it as perhaps a less risky way to go? Sorry, Steve, did you get that one?
Yes.
Okay. You should be unmuted.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Right, what we're seeing is obviously there's been delays of materials and components coming to site.
Yeah.
And obviously the key aspect is getting half the amount of people on site to get the logistics and 2 meter spacing accordingly. So we are getting a traction to actually look at modular building and the likes more so. However, it should have been picked up, as far as I'm concerned, far earlier in the game than waiting for something like what we are experiencing at the moment. But it is definitely one of the things we're trying to drive clients to look at the stage one of REBA stage, rather than wait down the line to stage 4 in REBA process before the contractor's about to start on site, as what we traditionally are across the piece. So more and more we're trying to get them to sort of look at, hang on, it's a better way, it's more efficient. There is obviously other implications, but we're still addressing that as an industry. But no, your point's right valid about it's just educating clients to engage this early, and that's sort of the whole client's project team as well, who advise the clients, not just on program and cost.
Yeah, that's a good answer, Steve. And Tom, DFMA offsite has been the talk of the industry for probably a generation or more, but digital is seen as a big enabler there. Do you want to say a little bit about what Procore's take is on that?
Yeah, I mean, with DFMA as well, because of the benefits it brings, and I mean, you know, it shortens the construction period and a lot of this stuff can be done off-site. It's going to be important to have all that information in a single source, meaning that you're not further confusing things and going back into old ways of working. And I think that's where the likes of the Procore platform comes into play, is that there's no ambiguity of where the information is. The information is just in one place, further speeding up that process and making it very clear, you know, the latest information is in one place and allowing the site team to build off.
Okay, a couple more Procore specific questions. Is Procore able to contain the form of contract being used on a project, whether it is, for example, JCT or NEC, so that contractors and subcontractors are reminded of the contract form? Do you want to take that one, Tom?
Yeah, so we do have a financial product line as well. There's absolutely no problem with storing the contracts up there. Additionally, we do have an integration with DocuSign, meaning that you can create contracts, have documentation signed via DocuSign as well. Additionally, then you're able to manage the financial aspect of these contracts, be it a client or a main contractor with a owner or a subcontractor. And then also with that, the added bonus of managing your budget. So while you're managing the contracts, you can also manage that construction budget in one place as well.
Okay, and Tom, another question from Kieran Phelan, who asks about bringing in Procore on a project that's halfway complete, or specifically 70% complete. He asks, what is your experience of bringing in Procore onto a project at this stage?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing to note, I think with change and any type of change, is that people don't like change. And when I'm looking at a project that may be like, you know, 70% complete, there's obviously going to be a heightened priority to deliver that project in time. Additionally, the workforce may be increasing the workload. If we look at you know, pushing out a new solution now on that, it may increase the risk of lessening the adoption of the system. Although, you know, there would be a lot of work involved in delivering that. And that's just me speaking openly, not just on Procore. I think with any change, if you were to add in any change to a project at that stage, it may increase confusion.
Absolutely fair enough, Tom, with that one. Okay, we are almost out of time. So I am going to thank all of our speakers for their time today. Steve Coppin from Arcadis, Josh Schumann from Kenham Building, Tom Noctor from Procore, and also I'd like to thank Procore again for partnering with us on today's webinar. Just a little bit about upcoming webinars on Construction Manager. We have another webinar with Procore Technologies coming up on construction's data opportunity. That is going to be in July. The date is to be confirmed, so please keep an eye on constructionmanagermagazine.com for news about that and all of our other events. Thanks once again to all the speakers and the presenters, and good afternoon.